Welcome to another segment of C.R.P.H.A. Business Advocate. This one is going to be a congratulatory one towards one of many of the retailers. Of course, this one is towards a hardware retailer. We have been putting some information in through as much as we could to do this. Uh, and that congratulatory thing is towards Ace Hardware. Ace Hardware started in 1924. I'd say that was a good number of years before even Orchard Supplier Hardware, aka OSH. And also, you could say that Ace was shall we say, a good learning aspect of the way OSH started. Um, but outside of that, Ace has been going through with its own rough patches. That's understandable. Any business does. Um, but we also have noticed that even in accordance to Fox Business News that Ace Hardware is one of many. So far, the only noticed one that has been, shall we say, scaling up ever so gradually, just like the In and Out burger has, with aside from the fact that In and Out has scaled up gradually and just, you could say, out of the blue, um, without being part of the NYSE, the New York Stock Exchange. Um, but of course, from what we notice is that could be that in some respect that ACE might be also connected to the NYSE. But the one thing in with that essentially is that ACE has, shall we say, beaten the other retailers that are scaling down to start with, and and sadly enough, it's their first competitor in several years that has scaled down to the points of non-existence. Is of course Fortress Supply Hardware. Of course, be that of course the reason being, of course, is, and I'm sorry for saying of course a lot, but anyway, um, the the one thing was is that the company Fortress Supply Hardware was essentially acquired by Lowe's in 2000, in the good moderate beginning part of the 2000s of the millennium anyway, and then for a stupid business move that Lowe's did, which basically will cost them eventually, um, they closed every or Supply Hardware Store, or OSH, that was in existence. And and we've said this before that OSH could easily have been a helpful part of the company that Lowe's essentially acquired to connect with its own. But of course, Lowe's will find that out because, of course, with the aspect of the big box. Now, when Ace as well as Orchard started, they were, shall we say, the mom and pop, if you will, at first. Although in some respect, the Ace is still seen as possibly the mom and pop. Be that, of course, they have various different locations in different sizes, which they do try to connect the best way possible with the best customer service that I've noticed, especially because I've been in Ace before. Um, and they try to do the best they can with the knowledge that they have, especially, and with what they carry in each one of the stores. And each, like I said, each store is a different size to better service the communities that they um, are that they have each store in, essentially. And I'm not saying that any other company doesn't do this, but so far, aside from Target and aside from McDonald's, and maybe a certain number of others, Ace has um, donated in connection with its with each store's community hospitals. Be that, of course, like for example, I'm sure that in some respect they would easily do something in the sense of Shriners, possibly, but I'm not gonna say that that's an indefinite actual, but they do connect with the community in helping in sense of donations of say large amounts of money. Um, but of course that has to be in collaboration and agreement with the management of said store. Be that, of course, each store is privately owned, much like Trader Joe's is privately owned, and much like the a number of other companies are privately owned, have privately owned facility or franchises or locations essentially, like also Gym Boys. Um, Tacos. And the one thing is that with everybody, even the larger stores essentially in the retail landscape have scaled down. Of course, there was maybe one location of Ace that closed. Of course, that at least that we're aware of right now. But since the I believe it was 2008 or 2018 Fox Business Report, it has been essentially shown that yeah, it's June 11 of 2018 is when the report was said about Ace being the only long-standing and surviving and gradual growing retailer, and as even as they compete with the Amazon and the other stores such as Lowe's and Home Depot and maybe to a certain percentage Walmart, um, and maybe also a smaller percentage Target. But the one thing is that Ace is doing the right thing actually. Ace has done some bad moves, which basically cost them, I'm sure. But the one thing is now it's being shown in a different landscape and train of thought, if you will, because each each one of the big box stores have, shall we say, lost their way. It is true. If you were to watch the Ace video that I'm referring to, via Fox Business News, I, they will say also is that in the sense that when you go to the big box stores such as Lowe's and Home Depot and whatnot, and maybe a certain number of others, they don't even know if they have the item. A number of the employees are not well trained, obviously, and that's a bad look on the location as well as the retailer. Although I'm sure we already know that that happens in any retail store from time to time until the next time around, then you find that the person that you may have talked to before or face to face with, or even on the phone, they will finally know that whether if they have the item or not. But Ace is going down the different landscape on that, a different pathway, if you will, on that side. Actually, is that they make sure that they have the employees um, memorize all the things that they have, and with that, and this is the way Longs did it though too, is that even at the registers they would have a list of what they have and where it's located in each one of the stores. And and that's the best way to do it. If they're not sure, they can always go down the list on a clipboard. Um, and I'd say we want to say to uh, Ace Hardware, keep up the good work, Ace. We need more businesses like you, like that. That way, there's a better chance of um, the unemployment percentage will keep on going down versus up, because with the many businesses that have gone to the points of non-existence, um, it's been gradually scaling up. But with the Trump administration, that thing has been held into a major stiff aspect to where now it's going down. But with ACE's help, it's going down even further. So basically, Ace is doing the right thing, and so of course we also would have to say good job to In and Out the way, and but of course In and Out's a totally different thing. But in this one's directly towards Ace. Now Ace is the strongest competitor at current. You could say just because the big box ones are the larger chains of like Lowe's and Home Depot, they're the strong ones, but they're not really connected to the community though. In today's economy, we need stores and management connected to the communities to better serve the community that each store's in, and Ace is doing that. Ace is definitely doing that. So basically, Ace is the top dog in the whole retail landscape so far, especially in the hardware in retail industry. And and I'd say that in some respects, from what I've seen, in what uh, many retailers do lose touch of is the personal service, if you want to call it camaraderie or something, in the sense of being fully 100% connected to your community, to your customers, to the aspect of their needs and wants and what they expect and all this other stuff, right? But the one thing is that many people at times do expect the non-realistic. That's a given. But the one thing is that businesses should go by what our motto is. Our motto at CBA, C.R.P.H.A. Business Advocate, which is never give in to failure. That motto stands strong for many positive reasons, and one of many reasons is that no matter how tough the business landscape is and gets, even for the new ones, um, you need to do what you can at every small, gradual step that you can and that you can afford to. Surprisingly, in this day and age, has gone to the points of affordability. Um, that that you could do to better service your community and those people who who you serve, essentially, who come into your place of business. And yet and from what I've noticed, as I got older, mostly, that Ace is doing just that. Of course, they may have lost touch a little bit because of the other retailers didn't really have much of a, shall we say, a downturn as they do now. But Ace has had its own downturn. But the one thing is, Ace has found ways to where that downturn can go right back up, and they're doing it right to this point in time right now. And even before the notice of from Fox Business News, Ace has gone gone gradually scaling up. But the one thing is, I'm going to say to Ace hardware stores and its owners and management, do it ever so gradually. Because the more you push yourself too hard, you can drastically make you can make bad moves in a very negative, drastic aspect to where basically it will hurt your bottom line essentially, and you don't want to hurt your bottom line. The bottom line is a support structure in any business that you do and you are a part of. That bottom line is your support structure. It's like a foundation. Without that, if that foundation sinks, so will your so will gradually your other half of your business bit by bit, section by section. So Ace is has gradually rebuilt their foundation in their bottom line, and with that they were able to build it back up, which basically is what they were doing, which is a good positive viewpoint to why Fox Business put interviewed one of the execs of the company, and the one thing is though too is that many businesses can still do this, but but the one thing is that they can't be worried about the dollar as much as Walmart has been, as much as Target has been, as much as Home Depot has been, as much as Lowe's has been, as much as any other company has been worried about the the dollar. The dollar is only important to a certain extent and a certain percentage. The most important thing in order to raise the percentage of that dollar is by personal customer service. Making sure that you know what you have in each and every one of your stores and locations. And how many locations you have per community. That way, if one store doesn't have it, then one of the other two or three or however many stores would possibly have it. Like, for example, when I was working for Long's Drugstore, my third store. Okay, this is my third store. Um, when my store that I was working at and working for in the particular location it was in, we didn't have what was on ad, so I took it upon myself, and which every employee should have done and probably has followed since then. Although I haven't noticed it, but the one thing was is that I took it upon myself to call a number of the local stores that the customer was willing to go to, that they didn't mind going to just to make sure they get the item. As long as they got the item, that's all that mattered to them really. Is that, but of course they didn't want. At times there were a number of customers that didn't want to go too far or too out of the way, if you will. But the one thing is that they saw an employee willing to do what they can to better service them, and that's job one in any company, in any retailer, or any commercialized business that you have and that you're a part of. Without that, then the business can suffer. Maybe not in the full extent, if you will, but the more there's no full aspect of customer personalization, then customers will eventually see that and go to possibly your competitor, your 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 job's competitors. Essentially, the company that you work for will lose more and more customers, which basically would go to, which means would the customers would go to either the ones that have a small percentage of what they want or a full percentage of what they want, which with the full percentage is mostly the competitor of said company. And the one thing is that though too is that no company wants that. Now, do they? Ace is going the right way. So good job, Ace. Now we cannot say if Ace is going to keep going up, but we will keep an eye on every business besides Ace. And this particular one, even though I mentioned a number of companies, even as a general example, that one thing is this is directed to Ace. Ace, you keep doing a good job, but the one thing also, no matter what type of thing you go through, even with when it comes to the customer base and also the employee level of knowledge, eh, always focus on the bottom line, because that bottom line is the stability to the structure and the longevity of the company and the store's location and the location of the stores as well, essentially. Although there are a number of people who have said location is the way to get a better base of uh, customer, shall we say, customers essentially to um, come into your stores. Essentially, the base of the level of foot traffic heightens your bottom line in the financial aspect. It could be, but that changes over time. The more it changes, you have to you would have to essentially try to do what you can to better service that and to where you're able to stay within the 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 darker lines in the financial aspect without reaching the red line. This would be right here, the red line, and you want to be way above the red line. That's what the base of good customer relations goes into. In order to have that good customer relation, will also helps the financial aspect stay this way right here, and the red line still stays right here because so far businesses have gone closer and closer to the red line, including the number of stores we will mention in our next video that we're almost done with, by the way. So, generally, this whole thing is what Ace is doing in a positive line. They're paying attention to the right things at the right point in time within their business strategies and within their business know-how. I may have given them a little extra, shall we say, things to consider. Granted, yes, but the one thing is that many businesses also can take from this and put it upon their own. But the one thing is, any slip up can, even the slightest slip up, can easily mm, um, make the foundation into where it's almost unstable, right? You don't want that. But all in all, we want to congratulate Ace hardware. Keep up the good work. And believe me, the more businesses follow the strategy of ACE, and including what I've mentioned here, you may find you'll be able to stay in business and grow even bigger, but not in the sense of like location aspects of expansion. Um, but you will grow in the positive way of um, customer satisfaction, customer loyalty, much like Long's did, and much like Ace is rebuilding itself right now on that. The basic fact is that Ace is no longer known as mom and pop, even though it may seem like it the way they have it set up. But it's better to look like something when it's really not in its size, such as the small size that is, and maybe a certain number of other stores that Ace has connected itself with. There was one I can't remember his Emmys or something over on El Camino and Watt, Ace Hardware. There, that one's a little bit bigger, but nonetheless, no matter what the size, they're doing what they can and what they know to better service the community, and that's the way it should go with any business. It doesn't matter what type of in what industry. But the basic fact is that you don't want to lose that by having a customer being dissatisfied with their service, with the fact of the employee may have a bad day or whatever else. But the one thing is, that's another thing. Make sure you're if you have any employees that are having bad days, you can set them aside, but don't put them on report, because the that would make it to where you may think that you may have to go in the sense of possibly a rehire, a new hire essentially, in which basically costs money, and you may not have the money. So logically, you may think that, okay, well, uh, depending on the the time allowed, of course, you may think, okay, what happens if we get busy and I let this person go home as a shall we say, for the rest of the day. You could do that, but then you'd have to call in someone else if you have anybody on the list of staffing that's willing to work. Be that, of course, with that, and Ace could do this as well. Put a number of people on call on the weeks and days that you and even on weekends that you think that and would know that you're going to be needing some even backup for any given reason. You can have an on-call base of list of hires and a regular scheduled list of hires, and that can change over time, over the list of however many weeks and months, right? That's the best way to do it. But also make sure the the top the number one part is customer relations in a positive light. And that's what Ace is doing. Customer relations in a positive light. That's a positive right there. And so basically, all in all things that I can think of to say are said. And we will still want to say, good job, Ace. Keep up the good work and please stay strong as much as possible. Mm. And do know, we will be watching. This is CBA, C.R.P.H.A. Business Advocate. Never give in to failure. Have a good day.